Okay, Danny, as far as what's some problems you've been having or roadblocks you've run into, one I've kind of noticed is time frame and follow up because a lot of these guys are really not ready to go yet right now. What have you kind of been going? What challenges have you had?
Um, just kind of like coming in with an anchor offer and then them being like, oh, hell no. Like, that's
They're
not.
supposed to. They're supposed to.
And
Are you
then
are you
not
fine?
knowing where to go from there.
Okay, so after they do that, let's say we can role play that. You always ask them. I always say sometimes like, "Oh, I don't mean to insult you." Like I had a call I recorded. He said, "You're not insulting me." I was like, "We're at between the 40s and 50s. Is that what you were thinking?" He'd be like, "Oh no, hell no, that's too low." And I'd be like, "Well, understood. How close could you come to that number?" That's a question you ask, obviously. And you say, "Well, let me see what else we can do with the finance department. If I could get a number approved, would you be willing to move forward in the next couple of days to start the process?" Just keep it real simple. Either they're going to be with it or they're not. Like the one the old man kind of jammed me up was because we kind of agreed on price, but he was just like, "What's 35,000? What do you mean? What do you mean?" I'm like, "All right, man, I'm paying your closing cost 30,000." I'm like, "Damn, I'm like really not tying him down by telling him 30,000, 35,000." So technically, I was trying to get him to say, "Hey, if we could agree on 35, would you be prepared to move forward?" He's like, "Well, I want to talk to my realtor friend and all that." I was like, "Well, at that point, I got a follow up sequence. You know what I mean? Be like, we're not getting nothing accomplished today, nothing." So I'm like, okay, well, what are you? Will you be have time frame? Will Friday work for you for a follow up? Do you think you have a decision by then? See what I mean? You got to play that next step game with that. But yeah, when somebody just blow you out, if you say, "Oh, we're buying them in the 30s or 40s," is that about how much you were thinking? So are they probably like, are they cussing you out? Have you got cussed out yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, good for you. I've been cussed. Fuck no. Ah! You haven't got cussed out yet. Good. All
I'm
right.
gonna say I also have it, and I've been doing this for way longer than Danny.
Yeah, but you don't get on the phone, Abby. You do everything through
No,
text.
I'm saying even when I used to do a lot more phone stuff, I think people are like less like Danny. The fact you're a girl is working
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah,
No.
they come from my neck. Fuck is this? All right, here we go. So yeah, that's the sequence. What we're doing, we're gonna flip it around and let you do me, and then I'll show you. We'll go that route. So just offer me a bullcrap anchor offer.
Okay, so we've been buying in the area for around 30 to 40,000. Is that something that you can work with?
Oh no, that's way low. I was thinking like, well, that's way too low for me. You asked me the next question.
Understood. So how close to that number do you think you can get to?
Ooh, great question. I was trying to get at least 100.
Okay, that may be a little bit high for us, but I can go back to my finance team and see what I can get from them from there. Is 100 the lowest you can go, or if it's all cash and we cover closing costs, do you think you can lower that number a little bit?
That's a great question, Danny. I probably could go like maybe 93, 94. That'd
Okay.
be about as best possible.
So I can connect back with my finance team, and assuming that I can get a higher number from them, would you be willing to work quickly?
Um, yeah, I'd be willing. I mean, I'm in no rush, but I'd be willing to.
Okay, great. So let me talk back with them and see what I can get for you.
Great job. Basically, at that point, you're at a stall. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, don't you're not nobody can accomplish anything at that
Yeah,
point.
he didn't lower the number enough for me
Yeah,
to be
there's
like,
nothing
oh yeah,
there.
that could definitely work.
Yeah, there's nothing there. So don't ever feel like those aren't the ones that I care about. The ones I care about is like when we're kind of close on number, then it becomes a time frame constraint.
Mhm.
Like, damn, can we get this time frame? Because then what'll happen is you'll be talking so much you'll flush out a price, but there won't be a time lockdown. You know what I mean? So we're role playing, flipping around, and then don't give me any time or anything like that. Just kind of be like, oh, whatever, I don't care. So all right, ring ring. Hey, Danny, we're buying properties for 30 to 40K in that price range. Is that about how much you were thinking?
I was thinking around like 60.
60? Okay. Right now that may be a little bit high for us. Is there any wiggle room in that 60K?
Yeah, there could be some if do you guys cover closing costs?
Well, it depends. If we cover the closing costs, we might be able to get you. a little bit better price. It's kind of all depends on yeah, my brain froze. Yeah, we can cover closing costs. I'm trying to tie it in together. Like,
Mhm.
well, you know what I mean? Like, if we would pay closing costs, would you be prepared to move forward? Is that something that you would interest you? You know what I mean? Like, talk them through
Yeah.
it a little bit. You know what I'm trying to say. So, all right, ask me that again. You threw me off when you said, "Do you pay closing costs?"
Do you cover any closing costs?
Well, we could potentially cover the closing costs if that'll help us move forward in the process. That's something you would want us to do.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great, great. Now, assuming we can agree on a price, how soon would you be willing to move forward to start the process?
Um, Whenever. I'm not in any rush.
Okay, not in any rush. I understand that. Far as motivation, I think we spoke and you said that. What was your reason for wanting to get rid of the property again? I just going back to my notes.
Wanted to move and start in another area.
Okay, so how soon were you thinking about moving if we could get the house sold for you? What would be your ideal date?
I don't really have any property where I want to move, so still kind of looking around there.
Understood, understood. Okay. Well, how about this? If we could get you the money and that way it could help you start looking for a new property in maybe the next 2 to 3 weeks, would that help you out? Or are you more so in like 2 to 5 years?
I don't really have any time frame.
Okay. One of those had to pick something. Like, oh, I'm in no rush. Maybe a year. Something. All right. So, well, in this case, what I'm gonna do is maybe follow up with you in a week. You see what I mean? Like if they don't give you nothing, all you can do is follow up sequence because there's really nothing you can do. And it's like, well, you think maybe in the next month or so you might have an idea if you want to move. Like that's just a super
Yeah.
cold lead. So I'm trying to give you situations where it's like nothing you can do about it. All
Well,
right.
I can I just jump in
Right.
here? I would say, Danny, like don't be scared to put on like a little bit of a serious pressure, which means that like you're calling these people, they're like a little nervous, right? So you kind of have to like meet them where they are. Like they're a little like, I don't know, like would you actually buy my house? Like you're kind of calling me out of the blue still. Like you're only the second touch. Like it takes a few touches
Yeah,
to
it takes
get
about
someone.
6 to 8 with these. That's why I say never worry about it. Like you're always in the
So
game.
keep in mind, you're usually only like the second touch. The first touch meaning like a text or like one of our cold callers, like you're only the second touch. So they're still a little like hesitant. So like even
Mhm.
though the price that they say is so far away from the price that they're gonna close on, they're still gonna go like the higher way possible because so don't be scared to be like, well, I mean, if we can close like next week, would that work for you? Like if we can close within the month, is that something that you would consider?
Mhm.
And that's kind of like a breaks and pressure at the same time because it's not saying we are going to do it, it's not saying we are moving forward, but like hypothetically, is that more or less what you were thinking? And you'll also see that motivation is like a huge driver in these deals. So like if someone says like my kids are graduating, I really want a smaller house. Like me and my husband have been playing around with this idea. It might sound to you a little like they're not as motivated as you might think, but like you don't know what happened in that conversation. And then you calling them and being like, well, we can close in like a month. Would you guys want to do that?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like starts like this snowball. And then by the time like Ron or like you call them back again, all of a sudden you don't even know you're talking to like a totally different super motivated person because like you planted the seeds and all of a sudden like it blossomed. So don't be scared to like really say um I guess like the facts, but also like put a little bit of, you know what I mean, like put a little, that's kind of my 2 cents, like put a little bit of like
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And another time constraint, like that's why it's like that's call two. Call two, you're really trying to get time frame. Even though they say, oh, you should have all this information, motivation, time frame, air condition. It rare. You're not gonna have all the information. It's damn near impossible. So like even with a lot of calls I follow with yours, I'm more so just filling them out for price. I was like, oh yeah, I know she offered you this. It was a little low. How soon were you trying to get it sold? What's the situation? You're just talking them through it. You're trying to hear anything that might be a motivation that can
Mhm.
connect with in a time frame. You know what I mean? That's all you doing, like the first 2 to 3 calls, really. So it's like even if they don't agree, like this old man, I'll give you an example. Like the old man, oh, I don't know about the 35 and everything. I'm trying to get a time frame out of him. I can't get
I'm with
nothing.
the bar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm like, I'm trying to get a time frame. I can't get nothing. So guess what? I'm gonna follow up with them Friday and see if I can get a damn time frame. Like you got to get those things. So that's kind of the beauty of following up. You're really following up to find, well, Mark, I know we spoke last 3 days ago, but let's just kind of go over why you want to even sell the property again. You got to find something. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of following up is. Like I've learned this, like following up, you'll actually develop a shit ton of rapport with that person. That's just how it works. You know what I mean? Like, hey, Carl, it's me again. How you been, man? Like I do that all the time. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like Carl's like that. Like, okay, this is our fourth touch with Carl. Okay, I'm gonna follow back up. It'll be my fifth touch. Then we gotta see if we can get him to accept the reality. Like, I can't do these high ass prices on these 2 bedrooms. Like, that's just the process. And he may be like, you know what? Maybe I can come down to 30. Stuff like that. That's just how it works with these leads. And then sometimes you get people ready to go, but it's like, as Abby can probably tell you, it takes about 6, 7 to 8 touches before you finally get there. So don't ever feel like I look at like pipeline. You're just following up, touching base. Like, oh, okay, great. I was talking to my finance department. Did you want me to put the funds aside for the next week? Would that be good for you? We're looking at 2 or 3 other properties, stuff like that. That's all we doing all day is just like basically touching base with them. Oh, okay. Hey, Carl, how you been? How was your fourth? You know what I mean? Great. Are we getting anywhere closer on these prices? We were trying to buy the portfolio in the next 35 to 45 days. Are you still interested in that? So that's the next phase of the call advanced sequence. Because until you get them to a point where they're like, okay, or if you say, hey, I know we spoke last week. Do you want me to put the funds aside for you? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Oh, okay, but the old man probably like, oh no, don't put it away because he's not really ready to move forward. You know what I mean? So you're just basically following up and listening to people. And then sometimes people might just want to run off and get 1,000 offers. Like as Keith Everett would say, hey, I just want to be the last person you speak to before you make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Give me that option. That's all I'm asking. Stuff like that. You want to ask something?
Let's do another role play with Danny because I feel like her point that she was making before, I don't know if like it's so clear yet what she should do when someone's like, hell
Okay.
no.
Okay, yeah, all right. Let's restart. What do you want me to? What do you want me to? Do you want me to be the buyer or seller? The cash buyer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Danny. We spoke earlier. You said you might be interested in selling the property. Well, we're currently buying it for 30 to 40K. Is that how much you were thinking?
No, I was thinking more like 100, 110.
Okay, 110, 110. That's a little bit high for us. And hey, I want you to get as much money as possible. Is there any way that you could come down on that price? We can kind of meet in the middle. There's a big gap of like about $50,000, $60,000. Like, is there any way we can meet in the middle?
I mean, Zillow says my house is worth $100,000, so not much lower than that.
I can respect that. No problem. We all have a right to try to get as much money as possible. But far as with the cash offer, we can't pay full retail for a property. Is there any way we could kind of like meet maybe like 65, 70K?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, great. So what we'll do is we'll just oh shit, how do I articulate this? Well, if I because this is call like one, right? You're not gonna be like, oh, if I get my finance department today, you're gonna do it today. This is not that's not how it flows. You know what I mean?
I would say I would say something like this.
Go ahead.
I would say
No.
when someone says like hell no, you say like, okay, I got it. What were you really thinking? Try to get them on a price and be like, okay, and assuming that we can like cover all closing costs, like you can sell it as is, all those kind of main like points. Just be like, is there any kind of wiggle room in that number? Yes, no. Gotcha. Okay, so let me make a note of that over here. Let me reach out to my finance department now, and let me see if we can kind of up our numbers and meet somewhere in the middle. We'll have, like either myself or a colleague of mine, I'll call you back in the next few days.
Okay. Yeah, because you're not going to be able to lock that down that day. You know what I mean? That's why I like the finance
and also like Ron, we're not giving her like to send out contracts at this point anyway. So
okay.
You're just kind of making like, right? Like you're just kind of making anchor offers. So
yeah,
if you're making anchor offers, then once you drop the anchor, like that's it. Next call,
Yeah, don't feel like you got to do the whole sequence. But I'm telling you, this is the next step of the sequence, which would probably be a second phone call. You know what I mean? That's usually what I'm doing. I'm usually calling back, touching base, saying, hey, I'm with the finance department. This is our acquisition squad. Is there any way we can make this deal work? What's your time frame? If I could put this money to the side, Would you be willing to move forward in the next week? We're looking to buy in 45 days. Like that's the second part. Then it'll be follow-up sequence after that when they be like, oh, I'm not ready to do it right now, and blah, blah, blah. That's just the way it is. So don't ever feel like you have to get everything perfect on the first call.
Yeah. Also, Danny, like these deals take time anyway.
Yeah,
so.
it's like a pipeline. You know what I mean? And that's just how it works. Like it rarely happens in a day. Trust me, it rarely happens. And me and Abby both know we'll make sure you get some money. You ain't gonna not get no money.
Not worried.
Okay, Dan, do you have were you having any other issues? Tomorrow, me and Ron have like Ari Simply a live call with them. So if there's any problems that you see on that end, they actually ported a number of mine. So now we have 2 numbers there. So I want you to actually potentially start using the second number. Actually, Ron, we can stop recording. This part is like more technical.
All right. And I'll send